So throughout my career, I've worked with all kinds of job seekers, those who have never had to apply for a job because they were always referred into an organization. Like the people who have that close circle, who always have your back. Then I've worked with people who have always found jobs by applying, when you have to apply to thousands of roles. And when somebody finally reaches out for an interview, you take it because you're just so happy to finally be noticed. And I've also worked with people who have literally been at the same company their entire career and they don't even know how to look for work. None of those details matter. My process is always the same. When I start working with people, the number one step is always having clarity to identify what your clear goal is, because without clarity, you can't really craft the professional brand. So a professional brand, it's essential for your career. And whether you know it or not, you have a brand. And I want each and every one of you to take ownership of your brand and how you present yourself. Because if your brand screams out of touch, it allows for bias. And if your brand screams value, in touch, visionary with it, then you're going to experience significantly different results in your job. I was actually on a consultation call earlier today and I asked him, he's in sales and he wants to pivot from a VP of sales role into an enterprise account manager role. He just wants to take a step down. And I said, well, being an individual contributor is significantly different than being a people leader. And so you've been a people leader for over a decade. Do you think that you have what it takes to take a step down and go back into the front lines? Do you want to be doing the cold calling, the prospecting, the constant travel? He's like, yeah, I can't freaking wait for it. I was like, great, that's all I need to know. But you don't want to have to wait until someone's on the phone interrogating you about that. You want to make sure that they know that in advance so that question doesn't even come up. So in the conversation, when you finally get the opportunity to speak with someone, they're only talking about things that are relevant to the role, not questioning whether or not you're a good fit for this role. If you're applying, you should be a good fit for the role. So I know this is an election year, and so people can be sensitive about words. And I want to tread lightly here because meritocracy, I probably am pronouncing that incorrectly, but you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people will argue that it's a myth because despite how hard you work, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get wealth, regardless of your individual work ethic. I mean, how many of us know somebody who's one of the hardest working people who doesn't have that much? Think about our field workers. Think about, our frontline staff. The pandemic was a great experience of how we need those cashiers in stores and the stockers and where's the toilet paper, right? They don't get compensated very much, but they have some of the hardest work ethics. But for the sake of this presentation, just bear with me. Oftentimes organizations, influence and positions of leadership are based on who you know or how long you've been around, right? Like nepotism is real. If you've had a sponsor who's opened doors for you, that means that door was closed on someone else. And so an example could be like in finance. Sometimes in organizations, you get a title bump just because you've been there for a certain amount of time. Okay, you've been here for 3 years, you automatically get bumped up to the VP title. And that's a generalization, but you see where I'm going with this. Sometimes promotions aren't due to the person who has the best abilities or accomplishments. I see a lot of women on this call. We know that sometimes it's out of our control about who's promoted. But when you're on your job search, that's what you've got to lead with. As a recruiter, I see people lead with years of experience all the time, which tells me nothing. I could care less about your age. I care about what value you can bring. So just because you've been doing something for 30 years doesn't mean you're good at it. I need more substance than that. And so even if you're a referral, you still have to come competitive. You have to compete in the interview, on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. And this all starts with a brand, and the brand being centered around the value you bring and your unique approach to it.